So today we'll start with the new topic, uh, that is energy principle. Some introduction to energy principle you might have studied in your structural mechanics 1, like strain energy stored due to axial loading, strain energy stored due to bending. All these topics you might have studied in your structure analysis 1, but we'll recapitulate the things here, and then we'll see Castigliono's first theorem, and then we'll move to Castigliono's second theorem, and then third thing we'll also see the unit load method. And in addition to this, we'll also go through the approximate methods uh, for analysis. So topics we are going to cover in this is CFT, that is Castigliono's first theorem. Okay. And it is this method is used to find slopes and deflections of statically determinate beams. Second thing, we'll see CST, that is Castigliono's second theorem, and this method is used to find redundants. What are redundants? They are the extra unknowns present in the membrane. Of redundants of statically indeterminate beams. Third thing, ULM. Though this portion is not in your syllabus, we'll go through this method. It has been removed from your new syllabus. Earlier it was there in the old syllabus. So this method has two applications. One, to find slopes and deflections of statically determinate beams, and second, this method can also be used to find to solve statically indeterminate beams. Means it can be used to find the redundants. Now finding the redundants, that means you are actually solving the indeterminate beams. Okay. And then we'll also see approximate methods. Methods of lateral load analysis. Okay, so with this, we first start with the strain energy, some concepts of strain energy or energy principles which you might have studied in your structure analysis one. So first is strain energy. So what is strain energy? We represent this by U. So it is the work done on the structure. Okay. Strain energy means it is the work done on the structure. You can express this as U is equals to the average force multiplied by deformation. Okay. So we can let us find the strain energy stored due to axial load. Strain energy stored due to axial load. To understand this, consider a bar hang from the top. The cross section of the bar is uniform. Okay. And it is subjected to some load, let us say W or P. Okay. We assume that the weight of the bar is negligible, so we are not taking into account the weight, its own weight, and let L be the length of this bar. Okay. So this is under the application of the load, this bar will deform by some amount. Let this be delta L. Okay. So this extension is given by delta L is equals to P L by AE. Okay. So we can write strain energy stored due to axial load, that is U, it will be equal to work done. Okay. Now what is work done? It is the average force multiplied by deformation. So here average force will be 1 by 2 into P, and deformation we have already found, it is PL over AE. So the strain energy stored will be equal to, we can write P square L over 2 AE. This is the expression for strain energy stored due to axial load. You might have derived such expression in your structure mechanics 1. Now let us find the strain energy stored due to bending. So for that, let us consider a beam simply supported at its end, having uniform cross section throughout. Now consider a small element dx, and the cross section of this is like this, dx. This is the cross section of the element. Okay. Wait a minute. This will be the cross section, and consider a small elemental strip having area dA. So we can now find the strain energy stored due to bending. Strain energy stored due to bending in small strip of thickness dx. So let this be du. So the strain energy stored within this small elemental strip be du. So this will be equal to average force multiplied by deformation. Average force here will be 1 by 2. Okay. Now let the sigma be the stress, sigma be the stress in the fiber. So the average force will be 1 by 2 sigma into dA, that is the area of the small elemental strip. So this multiplied by the deformation. So deformation you can find, we know that from equation of bending, m by I is equals to sigma by y so you can replace sigma here as m y by I, and we also know the strain is equals to change in length divided by the length. So here the change in in terms of sigma we can write it as sigma by E, and so we can write this as delta L by L, which is equal to sigma by E. So you can write this deformation, we can write this deformation will be equal to delta L is equals to sigma into L by E. Okay, so deformation here will be sigma, length of the element is L, dx, so times dx. So for small element delta L will be equal to sigma times this dx by E. So same we are replacing here, sigma by E times dx. Now we can replace this sigma equals to 1 by 2 1 by 2 E. We can write this as sigma square dA dx by 2E. Now what is this sigma square? It is m by I into y. So we can write this as my by I whole square by 2E dA dx. Okay, so this is equal to m square by 2E I square into y square dA times dx. Now y square dA is equal to moment of inertia. It is the second moment of area. So we can write this as equal to m square by 2E I square into I times dx, because I is equal to y square dA, that is the second moment of area. Okay, second moment of area. So this can be cancelled out, this I square and this I. So you have du equals to m square by 2 EI dx. Okay, so the total strain energy stored due to bending, total strain energy stored due to bending will be equal to u, which is equal to integration from 0 to L, because we have now find du is the strain energy stored within this small element length. Now we have to find for the entire length of the member. The length of the member is L, so we have to integrate it from 0 to L du. So it will be integration from 0 to L m square by 2 ei dx. Now so this is the expression for the strain energy stored due to bending, m square by 2 ei dx. Okay, so these things you have studied in your structural mechanics. So using these concepts, we now extend and go through the Castigliono's first theorem. Or before that, let us go through Maxwell's reciprocal theorem. Maxwell's reciprocal theorem, or it is also known as law of reciprocal deflection. This statement was given by J.C. Maxwell in 1864. The statement is, in any structure whose material is elastic and obeys Hooke's law, and in which the support remains unyielded, and the temperature remains constant, the 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 deflection at any point deflection at any point 1 at any point 1 due to a load W applied at point 2 at point 2 is equal to the deflection at point 2 due to a load W applied at point 1. Applied at point 1. So this is the statement that in any structure whose material is elastic, the material should be elastic, and if it obeys the Hooke's law, and in which the support remains unyielded and the temperature remains constant, the deflection at any point 1 due to the load W applied at point 2 is equal to the deflection at point 2 due to the load W applied at point 1. So the necessary conditions for the application of this statement is, or this theorem is, necessary conditions are: number 1, material should be elastic. Material of beam is elastic and obeys Hooke's law. Second, supports are unyielded. Means there is no sinking or rotation of support. No sinking or rotation of support. Third thing, temperature remains constant. Means there is no change in temperature, remains constant, that is delta T is equal to 0. So if these conditions are satisfied, then we can apply this theorem, and this statement, the mathematical statement, mathematically we can write this as delta 1 2 equals to delta 2 1. Okay, this is as per Maxwell's theorem. As per Maxwell's reciprocal theorem, delta 1 2 is equals to delta 2 1. Delta 1 2 is equal to delta 2 1. That means where here delta 1 2 is the deflection at point 1 due to load W applied at point 2 and delta 21 is the deflection at point 2 due to load W applied at point 1. Okay, now to understand this, consider a beam okay, okay, and let the deflection of this beam under the application of load W at point 1, the deflection at point 2, let this be point 2, this be point 1. So the deflection here, let it be delta 2, 1. This is the deflection at 2 due to the application of load W at point 1. And similarly, for the same beam, now the load W is applied at 2. Let us say this is 2 point and this is point 1, and let this be the deflected shape. So the deflection here, let it be delta 1 2, that is deflection at point 1 when the unit load is applied, when the load is applied at 2. This is deflection at point 2 when the load is applied at point 1. So as per Maxwell's theorem, this delta 1 2 is equals to delta 2 1. Okay, so when the load W is applied at 1, the deflection at 2 is delta 2 1, and when the load is applied at 2, the deflection at 1 is delta 1 2. So as per Maxwell's theorem, this delta 1 2 is equals to delta 2 1, where delta 1 2 is the deflection at point 1 due to the load W applied at point 2, and delta 2 1 is the deflection at point 2 due to the load W applied at point 1. Now let us prove this. So, to prove this, consider a beam AB, which is simply supported at the ends. Okay. Now let it be subjected to some load W, and let this point be C point. Okay, so due to this application of this load, let the deflected shape of this beam be like this. Okay, consider a point D on the beam. Okay, so the deflection produced here, let the deflection produced here be uppercase delta C, and the deflection produced here be uppercase delta D. Okay, now we switch the load from C to D. Now let us consider the same beam consider the same beam. Now this time we are applying the load at D. We are applying this load W at D. So due to this, when the load is applied at D, let the deflection produced at D be small, means lowercase delta D, and deflection produced at C be lowercase delta C. Okay, this is, let us say, this is figure 1. This is figure 2. Okay, so from this, if when the load W is applied at point C, the deflection produced at C is uppercase delta C, and deflection produced at D is uppercase delta D. Now when the load W is applied at point D, the deflection produced at D is lowercase delta D, and the deflection produced at C is lowercase delta C. Now consider the load acts simultaneously at C and D. So what we can do? Uh, okay, so now this is the deflection when the load W is applied at C. Now let us apply a load W at point D. Okay. Now when you apply this load W, there will be further deflection in the member. So this deflection, and this deflection will be corresponding to this deflection will be small delta D, and the deflection for this will be small delta C. Okay. Similarly, uh, in figure 2, here let us consider one more force W acts at point C. So what will happen? This will undergo further deflection. Okay, and let the deflection produced due to this additional W at point C, it will be uppercase delta C. Okay, from this figure you can consider, you can have this, and this deflection be delta D, uppercase delta D. Okay, so here we are considering the forces acting simultaneously. This is figure 3. This is figure 4. So from figure 3 we can write work done will be equal to W times del will be will be 1 by 2 W into delta C plus 1 by 2 W, when this, now this is plus 1 by 2 W, when this load is applied, it will, the work done will be 1 by 2 W into this delta plus this W into delta C. Okay, so this is due to load at C, and this one is the due to load at D. So this is the total work done in the first case. Mark this as number 1. Okay. This is from figure 3. From figure 3 you have this. Now from figure 4, work done will be equal to now here the load is applied at D, so corresponding to the this D, the load, the deflection produced is small delta D, so it will be 1 by 2 W small delta D. This is due to the application of load at D. Now plus, when the load is applied at C, the deflection produced will be 1 by 2 W delta C. This will produce delta C deflection at C plus W times delta D, this deflection. Okay, so mark this as number 2. This is due to load at C, and this is due to load at D. Now from equation 1 and 2, from 1 and 2 we can equate the work done, so it will be equal to 1 by 2 W delta C plus 1 by 2 W delta D plus W delta C is equal to 1 by 2 W delta D plus 1 by 2 W delta C plus W delta D. Now this term and this term can be cancelled out. This term and this term can be cancelled out. So we are left with W delta C is equals to W delta D. Again this W can be cancelled out. So we can say delta C is equals to delta D. Now what is delta C? Small delta C. This delta C is the deflection produced at C when the load is applied at D. Okay, and what is delta D? Capital delta D. Capital delta D is the deflection produced at D when the load is applied at C. Okay, see from the figure. Capital delta D is the deflection produced at D when the load is applied at C, and small delta C is equal to the deflection produced at C when the load is applied at D. So this implies that or we can write this as, that is deflection at C due to load acting at D is equal to deflection at D deflection at D due to load acting at C. Okay, so we can, so this is the proof of Maxwell's reciprocal theorem. Okay, so what is Maxwell's reciprocal theorem? It states that in any structure whose material is elastic and obeys Hooke's law, and in which the support remains unyielded and temperature remains constant, the deflection at any point 1 due to the load applied W at point 2 is equal to the deflection at point 2 due to the load W applied at point 1. That means mathematically we can say delta 1 2 is equals to delta 2 1. What is delta 1 2? Delta 1 2 is the deflection at 1 when the load is applied at 2, and delta 2 1 is the deflection at 2 when the load is applied at 1. So this is the Maxwell's reciprocal theorem. Okay, this is Maxwell's reciprocal theorem, and the proof is we have seen. Now next theorem is Bette's theorem, or also known as Bette's law. It is the generalized form of Maxwell's reciprocal theorem for system of forces. Generalized form of Maxwell's reciprocal theorem for system of forces. Means in Maxwell's theorem we have seen only one force is acting, but if we have a series of forces or system of forces which act simultaneously, then the Maxwell theorem can be generalized, and it is presented by Bette's theorem. This theorem was given by Betty in 1872. So let us see the statement. So the statement is, in any structure, the material is elastic and obeys Hooke's law, and the supports remain unyielded unyielded, and temperature remains constant, the distortion caused by system of forces, system of forces, let us say P1, P2, P3, okay, and so on, during uh, it is the virtual work done by the system of forces. It is the virtual work done by a system of forces during the distortion caused by system of forces Q1, Q2, Q3, and so on is equal to the virtual work done by a system of forces Q1, Q2, Q3, and so on during the, distortion caused by system of forces P1, P2, P3, and so on. Okay. So to understand this, consider a beam AB A and this is B. Okay. And let it be subjected to a system of forces P1, P2, P3, P1, P2, P3. Let this be P1, P2, P3. And because of this system of forces, the deflection at any other point, which is, let us say, this is point Q, the deflection here be y1, the deflection here be y2, and the deflection here be y3. Now for the same system, uh, let us now apply a system of forces Q1, Q2, Q3. This is A, this is B, and this time we apply a force Q1 corresponding to this Q2 and Q3, and the deflection produced due to this, let the deflection produced corresponding to P1 be small y1, the deflection corresponding to the this small y2, and this deflection corresponding to this small y3. So when the system of forces P1, P2, P3 is applied, then the deflection corresponding to Q1, Q2, Q3 is capital Y1, Y2, Y3, and when the system of forces Q1, Q2, Q3 is applied, the displacement, the deflection corresponding to P1, P2, P3, the small y1, small y2, y3 respectively. So we can write for the first system, for this system, total work done be equal to WE plus WE dash. What is WE? W is the external work done by the system of forces P1, P2, P3, and WE dash is the work done by the system of forces Q1, Q2, Q3. Okay, so we apply this system of forces simultaneously. So when we apply the system of forces P1, P2, P3, the external work done is WE, and then when we apply the system of forces Q1, Q2, Q3, the external work done, let it be WE dash, plus we'll have P1 Y1 plus P2 Y2 plus P3 Y3, and the total work done in this case will be total work done will be equal to WE dash. Okay, what is WE dash? WE dash is the work done by the system of forces Q1, Q2, Q3 plus WE. Now when you apply this P1, P2, P3, in addition to this Q1, Q2, Q3, the work done will be WE, which is the work done by the system of forces P1, P2, P3 plus Q1 Y1 plus Q2 Y2 plus Q3 Y3. Now mark this as number 1, this as 2. So from 1 and 2, we can write WE plus WE dash plus P1 Y1 plus P2 Y2 plus P3 Y3 is equals to WE dash plus WE plus Q1 Y1 plus Q2 Y2 plus Q3 Y3. Now this can be cancelled out. So what we can say, P1 Y1 plus P2 Y2 plus P3 Y3 is equal to Q1 Y1 plus Q2 Y2 plus Q3 Y3. So this is the mathematical representation of Betty's theorem. This is Betty's theorem. Mathematically. So what it states that when a system of forces, the work done by the system of forces P1, P2, P3 is equal to the work done by the system of forces Q2, Q3, Q3. So work done by this system of forces will be P1 Y1 plus P2 Y2 plus P3 Y3, and work done by this system will be Q1 Y1 Q2 Y plus P2 Y2 plus P3 Y3. So now let us go through Cauchy-Kleino's first theorem. So Cauchy-Kleino presented the method presents method to find deflection and slopes, deflections and slopes in statically determinate beams. Beams and rings. So this theorem was given by Cauchy-Kleino in 1876. So let us see the statement. In any beam or truss, in any beam or truss, subjected to any loading, the deflection at any point R is given by partial differential coefficients, partial differential coefficients of the strain energy with respect to force PR, with respect to force PR acting at the point R in the direction in which the deflection is desired. This is the statement. In any beam or truss subjected to any load system, the deflection at any point R is given by partial differential coefficients of the strain energy with respect to force PR acting at point R in the direction in which the deflection is desired. So that means mathematically we can write delta R, that is the deflection at any point R, is equal to the partial derivative of the strain energy with respect to the force PR applied at point R. So this is the mathematical statement. So that means suppose if we have this is Castile Janus first theorem. Okay, means suppose you have a beam AB, okay, which is simply supported, okay, and let this be the deflected shape and let this be the force PR and this point be, let us say, R. So the deflection corresponding to this point R, let this be delta R. So the delta R is equals to delta U by delta PR. Okay, means you have to differentiate the total strain energy stored with respect to the force PR, and the deflection will be in the direction in the same, will be in the same direction the force is applied. Okay, this delta PR will be in same direction as that of force PR. Okay. So here the force PR is acting in downward direction, so deflection will also be in downward direction. Okay. So we can write from CFT, that is Castigliano's first theorem, delta R is equals to del U by del PR. Okay, but we know that U is equals to integration from 0 to L m square by 2 EI dx. This is the strain energy stored due to bending. Okay, we have studied the strain energy stored due to bending is given by 0 to L m square by 2 EI dx. Okay, so we can write therefore delta R will be equal to del by del PR of integration from 0 to L m square by 2 EI dx. And here the flexural rigidity of the member is constant. Let us assume that the flexural rigidity of the member is constant, so you can take EI as common. So 1 upon 2 EI del by del PR or integration from 0 to L del by del PR of m square dx will be equal to, you can write this as integration from 0 to L to m, because differentiation of m square with respect to PR will be 2m del m by del PR divided by this by 2EI. This 2EI 2 gets cancelled times dx. So we can write this as delta R is equals to integration from 0 to L m by EI times del m by del PR dx. So this is the expression to determine this is the expression to determine deflection in statically determinate beams. Now suppose that you want to find the slope. This is for the deflection. Okay, suppose you want to find the slope, then you have to this is for deflection and this is for the slope. You have to take the partial derivative with respect to moment. So del u by del mr. Okay, this is for the slope and this is for deflection. So now let us see for slope how we can modify the expression. For slope, theta r is equals to del u by del mr. So we can write del by del mr integration from 0 to L m square by 2ei dx. So if you take the partial derivative, so you will get theta r is equal to integration from 0 to L m by ei del m by del mr times dx. This is the expression for CFT to determine slope in statically determinate beams. Beams or frames, both applicable to both beams and frames. Okay. Now some points to be noted in Castigliano's first theorem. The first thing is the material should be elastic. Material of structure should be elastic. Second, it should obey Hooke's law. Obey Hooke's law. Third thing, supports should remain unyielded. Means supports are unyielded. Means there is no displacement of the supports. That is, no displacement of supports, temperature remains unchanged, number 5. For members subjected to bending, that is in case of beams, the strain energy stored due to axial load is small and it is neglected. So here in this expression, the strain energy we are considering is purely due to bending only. The strain energy we are considering here is purely due to bending. U is the strain energy stored due to bending. Okay, that means the strain energy due to axial load is neglected. Strain energy stored due to axial load is neglected. Axial load is neglected. Then number 6, the strain energy stored due to bending is given by strain energy stored due to bending is given by U is equals to integration from 0 to L m square by 2 EI dx. And number 7, the strain energy at any point the deflection at any point R is given by delta R is equals to integration from 0 to L m by EI del m by del PR times dx by 8 slope at any point r is given by theta r is equals to integration from 0 to L m by ei del m by del m r, which is the the partial derivative of moment with respect to the moment at r times dx. Then number 9, in case if it is required to find deflection at any point, in case if it is required to find deflection at any point when there is no load, when there is no load acting, then apply, in that case you apply fictitious load. That means some imaginary load at a point where deflection is required, where deflection is required. We understand this by an example. Suppose if you have been asked to find the deflection where there is no point load, or you are supposed to find the slope where there is no moment acting, then how to find the deflection or slope at those points, that we will see by an example. So for those cases we have to apply a fictitious load there. Okay, so same way, in case if it is required to find slope at any point when there is no moment, when there is no moment acting at that point, then in that case apply fictitious moment okay at a point where slope is required. Okay. 11th thing which you should note about this CFT is the process involves The process of finding the slopes and deflection using Castigliono's first theorem. The process of finding slopes and deflections using CFT involves integration and partial differentiation and partial differentiation. So you should go through the integration and partial differentiation rules for solving the examples. Okay, so this was about the theory part related to Castigliono's first theorem. Now we will take an example to understand this Castigliono's first theorem. So example 1, find slope and deflection at point B for a beam as shown in figure. And take EI, that is the flexural rigidity of the member, as 10 into 10 to the power 13 Newton mm square. Okay. So we have a beam it is cantilever beam fixed at A so this is A and this is B, and it is loaded with a UDL of 20 kilonewton per meter, and it is also subjected to a point load of 60 kilonewton at B. This is point C. Okay, this is 4 meter. This is 2 meter. The flexural rigidity of member EC is 2I, 2EI. That means the material is constant, so it is 2I. Moment of inertia is 2I, and I inertia I for CV section. Okay, so this is given in the data. Now we are supposed to find deflection at B and slope at B. Okay, so let us solve this. First we find the deflection. deflection at B. Okay. So to find the deflection at B, consider a point load as per the Castigliano's theorem. To find the deflection at a point, you should apply, or you should consider some force at that point. So consider a point load P, whose value will be equal to 60, because there is already a force there. Consider a force P, a load P acting at B. That means this beam, what we are considering, we are applying a force P at B, whose value is equals to 60 kilonewton. Okay, so we can then differentiate moment with respect to P, which is acting at B, and later on we will put the value of P equals to 60 kilonewton. Now there are certain sign conventions which we are going to follow here. So our sign convention will be sagging as positive. Sagging as positive means, suppose if we are moving from left to right, then the clockwise moments are taken positive, and if we are moving from right to left, we'll consider anti-clockwise moment as positive. So for this cantilever problem, if we move from left to right, then we should have the reaction at the cantilever end, at the fixed end. So, and that too in terms of P. So we need the reactions in terms of P at A. But if we move from right to left, then we already have the expression of moments in terms of P. So we'll follow for cantilever sections. We'll follow right to left, and we'll consider anti-clockwise moments as positive. Okay, so now let us make a table. We have to make a table segment, showing segment origin, limit, then the flexural rigidity EI, then the moment at any arbitrary section X, and del mx by del p. Okay, this thing we have to find. Now here we'll have to formulate an expression of moment in terms of p. The same thing you used to do for the finding the deflection using conventional methods. So here also we'll formulate an expression of moments. So let us consider a section at a distance x from D. So for consider the segment BC. The origin is B. This is the origin for this segment. Origin is B, and its limit will be from 0 to 2. 0 to 2. Okay, and the flexure rigidity of this member is EI, and the moment at this section. Now about this section, the moment produced by this force will be equal to P into X, and it will cause clockwise moment. But as per our sign convention, anti-clockwise is positive, but this moment will cause clockwise. So it will be minus P into X. Okay, now del P, del mx by del P will be, means you have to differentiate this. So del by del P of minus P into X, it will be equal to minus X. So differentiation of this will be equal to minus X. Then the second segment from C to A. C to A. The reason for considering this C point, because there is change in the cross section of the change in the flexure rigidity of the member, and there is a loading also on the segment. So the origin is C. Now C is the origin for this segment CA. So the limit will be 0 to 4, and the flexure rigidity of this member is 2 EI. Now you consider a segment at a distance x from support C, support from point C, at a distance x from point C. So because of this, now at this section, let us say this is the section XX. Section XX. This is also the section XX. So the moment at this section XX will be equal to minus P into X plus 2, because this P force is located at a distance of 2 plus X. So minus P into X plus 2. Then this load, this moment due to this, so that will be 20 into x square by 2, that means 20 into x by 2, that means 20 into x square by 2. Again this is in clockwise direction, so minus 20 x square by 2. Now the differentiation of these, will be equal to, it will be minus x plus 2. Okay, because this term don't have any terms containing P, so partial differentiation of this term with respect to P will be 0. So you have mx and del mx by del P. Now using Castigliono's first theorem, it states that delta is equals to integration from 0 to L mx by EI del mx by del p into dx. Okay, so now we can write this as integration from for this segment, integration from 0 to 2, integration from 0 to 2. The flexural rigidity is ei, moment is minus p into x, so minus p into x is the moment divided by ei into del m by del p. Del m by del p is minus x, so multiply by minus x dx. So this is for the first segment BC. Similarly, from integration from 0 to 4, okay, this was 0 to 2. Now from 0 to 4, the flexural rigidity is 2 ei, and the moment is minus p times x plus 2 minus 20 x square by 2, okay, divided by 2 ei into the this is the moment, and this is the del m by del p. It is minus x plus 2, okay, this times dx. Okay, so now you have to carry out the integration of this. So this will be equal to integration from 0 to 2, minus minus becomes plus, so p x square by ei into dx plus integration from 0 to 4, minus minus becomes plus, it becomes p times x plus 2 whole square, minus minus becomes plus, this can be cancelled out, you can write it as 10, so plus 10 x square into x plus 2 whole divided by 2 ei times dx. So now you can take you can carry out the integration. Here the integration of this will be 1 upon ei, we can take out common, so integration of this will be x square dx will be x cube by 3 0 to 2 plus the integration of this will be, let us take 1 by 2 ei as common, so the integration of the first term will be equal to t times x plus 2 whole cube by 3 plus difference the integration of this will be equal to 10x square if you multiply this inside, so it will be equal to, it will be 10x cube, so integration of x cube will be x raised to 4 by 4 and 20x square, integration of 20x square will be equal to 20 into x cube by 3, limit will be 0 to 4. Okay, so if we put the limit, it will be p by ei, substitute the upper limit, so 8 by 3, it will be 8 by 3 minus 0 plus 1 upon 2 ei, substitute the upper limit, so it will be p into 4 plus 2, 6 cube, 6 cube will be, let us write this as 6 cube by 3 plus 10 into 4 raised to power 4 divided by 4 plus 20. This is the upper limit. Similarly, you have to put the lower limit also. So plus 20 into 4 cube by 3. This is the upper limit. Now lower limit minus p into 2 cube by 3, and substitute the lower limiting here. It will be 0, so this will be plus 0. Okay, so this is the delta B, deflection at point B. Okay, therefore delta B is this. Now we substitute the values of EI and the value of P. Taking EI is equal to 10 into 10 to the power 13 Newton mm square, which is given in the data, and P is equals to 60 kilonewton. So you will get and note that here we have used the distance in meter. See, all the distances are in meter. 0 to 2 they are in meter. So limit is in meter. So you have to convert this into kilonewton because load is in kilonewton and distance is in meter. So you have to convert this into kilonewton meter. So 10 to the power 6 and 10 to the power 3 means 10 to the power 9. So it will be this into 10 to the power 9 Newton mm square. Okay, so we can write this as 10 into 10 to the power 4 kilonewton meter square. This is your EI. Okay, so let us substitute this in delta B. Therefore delta B is equals to 60 by this value 10 into 10 to the power 4 into 8 by 3 plus 1 upon 2 into 10 into 10 to the power 4 into this 60 into 6 cube by 3 plus 10 into 4 raised to the power 4 by 4 plus 20 into 4 cube by 3 minus P is 60 into 2 cube by 3. Okay, now you calculate this value, you will get delta B is equal to 27.73 into 10 to the power minus 3 meter, because all these are in meter, so you can write this as 27.73 mm, and the direction will be downward. Why downward? Because the value is positive and the force P is applied in the downward direction, so deflection will also be in downward direction. So this is the answer. And the second case is to find the slope. So we have found the deflection at B. Second is to find the slope at B. Slope at B. So that we will discuss in the next class. But same concept here. Instead of differentiating moment with respect to P, you have to differentiate it with respect to moment. And note that at B there is no moment. So you have to apply a fictitious moment there. So that we will discuss in the next class. So let's stop here. If you have any doubt, we can discuss now. Any doubt in this?